Can I get 3 people to share? Okay, perfect. You're good, you're good. Yeah, it's super visually interesting because there's lots of different textures, there's lots of colors, there's lots of patterns, and it really does kind of make you feel like you're in the jungle with those little animals. I really like that, thank you. He does a really good job of using these cut up pieces of paper to really transport you into a different scene. It kind of can be difficult to make something that looks how you want it to look when you're using these cut up pieces of paper and you're not able to just draw it out. So I think he does a really great job of that. Does anyone want to say anything about the materials? Can I call on someone? Someone who hasn't spoken before? 7? Yeah, I totally agree with you. How he decided to only use the things that were in the area is really cool and shows that he's very intentional with how he decides things. Anybody else want to share for me? No worries, you guys did a great job. Great conversations. So next what we're going to do is we're going to talk about our next project. I'm super excited. We're doing collages. I know we're kind of speaking to you guys all this time, but we're going to use our compositions from our viewfinder studies as the basis of our collage. So our landscape, or if you did a leaf collage with some really cool ones, you're gonna take the drawing that you made. We're going to transfer the drawing onto our collage paper, and then we're gonna start cutting stuff out and gluing things on. But we need to remember intentionality. So what we're going to do first today, whenever we finish up here, is we're going to make sure that we transfer our images really carefully and think really hard about what colors we're going to use, what textures we want to see, and then we can start thinking about the images that we want to use. So I really like this because all of our magazines that I'm going to help you guys look through, all our paper, is all recycled materials. We're talking about sustainability. And I think it's really cool to be able to use something that you might have just thrown away. If you read a magazine, you probably don't want to read it twice or 3 times. So I think it's nice that we can use paper, we can use these materials more than once. And maybe even after this, you can cut up your collage and use paper again. We're have a 9x9 piece of watercolor paper. Has anyone ever heard of watercolor paper? Yeah. Why would we might like to use watercolor paper for our collage? Yeah, Allison. Because if we use glue, it might get all soggy. So watercolor paper is super thick. And it's going to be able to take in the water that's in the glue, and it's not going to fall apart like maybe printer paper would. So we're using 9x9 pieces of watercolor paper. We are going to transfer our drawings, and I'm going to hand them back to you today. If you've not finished, we will get you started and get you finished on that. Transfer these images over, so we're going to look very carefully. If you want to, I can show you how to divide up the space so that you can exactly transfer your image. And start thinking about what colors we need, what patterns we need. Our objectives are down here at the bottom, so what I want you guys to think about, how I want you guys to show me that you've learned something is by using your materials with respect. Does anyone know what that means? Using your materials with respect. That means you're not going to be messing around with the scissors. You're not going to be crumpling up things and throwing them away when we could be reusing them. We want to be very respectful with our materials so that everybody has a chance to use them. And we want to conserve materials. And what we mean by that is save as much stuff as possible. So one thing I like to think about before I throw something away is, can I use this? Can somebody use this in their collage? And a general rule of thumb is if it's smaller than a quarter, then you can throw it away. If it isn't, have a box that you can put your already cut up pieces in. We want to save as much materials as possible because then we can reuse them, reuse them, reuse them. And our second one, we're going to create a new plan, design, and create a collage using recycled materials with originality and intention, and fully embrace these experiments that we're having with sustainable materials. What we're going to do later on is I'll actually have you guys design how we're going to display our collages. We have this really cool trophy case out here. We're going to put them out so everybody can see them, and we're going to figure out what we're going to put on them. So, can everybody see this graphic on the side here? This is showing you how well I want you to cut our paper. So sometimes when we're cutting things out of magazines, we might leave the background, and unless you need that background color for whatever you're making, I want you guys to get super, super close to the image that you want to use. So make sure, unless there is something white or black in your composition, we don't want to see any of that. So if you have something you need to cut out and there's a white border, make sure to get as close as possible to the image. There's only 3 things that you have to have on your composition. It is your name on the back of the paper. It is at least 20 different pieces of paper. So at least 20 different things that you cut out and pasted on here. And lastly, it needs to be engaging, interesting. We want to use different kinds of patterns, different colors, as much as possible. And we're thinking about how we made our composition studies. So what is the emphasis? What is the main thing that people need to look at to see the balance, the shape, texture, and color? Before I move on, does anyone have any burning questions? We're good? Awesome. So, this is like my short little how-to. So first we're going to transfer our images on our viewfinder studies. So this big image down here, we're going to draw it on this piece of paper here. After that, we need to start thinking about what colors we need from our magazines, what we're going to cut out and put in there. Think of a list like that. And the thing that you have to remember with collage is that you have to work from back to front. So you're going to do the background first. Anything that is farthest away in your drawing. So if you drew a tree, instead of starting on the tree or the ground, you're going to start on the sky. I am happy for you guys to choose something different. Or we have a lot of cool plants in here. So if you decide, I don't even want to do what we drew out there, you can do another drawing of some of the plants using the viewfinder if you absolutely hate whatever we drew. Just make sure there's lots of detail in it. I don't want anybody to have a drawing that's just a leaf in the middle of the page and there's nothing around it. Make sure we have a background. Make sure we have things in the front and the foreground. It's a very detailed and interesting image. What's up? I would think about what was in the background. So if you were holding the leaf like this, I would do the sky. If you had the leaf on the ground, I would do the grass around it. And I also want to let you guys know, it's okay if it doesn't look exactly how you drew it. When we are making art, sometimes we figure out that there might be a better way to do something. There might be a better way to draw something. And so if it changes a little bit and deviates from our initial drawing, so if it changes from this to something slightly different, that is okay. I'm not going to be grading you on how accurate it is. We're going to be grading you on all the things that you need to include, if it's visually interesting, if you have thought about composition, all of those types of things. So it's okay if it doesn't end up super accurate in the end. We're going to cut out our images, but another cool way to use materials is by tearing them. So that way you get a kind of scraggly edge. I like to do both. Cut it out, tear it, because it gives each image a different sort of edge quality and it adds a lot of interest in your artwork. You don't have to tear anything, you don't have to cut anything, but you do need to have some way of getting the images out. If you make a mistake, that is totally okay. The cool thing about collage is you can keep adding paper on top. So that's totally cool. Do not feel like you need to start over. I'm only going to be giving you one of these. So if you make a mistake, we're going to figure it out. We're not going to throw it away. Okay? Lastly, when we're picking our images, I have a whole bunch of different materials. Make sure to think about the color, the pattern. Make sure to think about how these shapes and textures fit into your composition. And we want to try to be as accurate as possible, within reason, and be intentional. So, does anyone else have another question before I go on? No? Cool. Awesome. These are some examples. Yours does not have to look exactly like this. Yours might look very different from these. Might not have any of the same colors, but I wanted you guys to see some examples that you can draw some inspiration from as far as how to cut things out, how to put things together. So these are all landscapes or they are of plants. And we have different types of things. So we have things that are cut out. We have a couple, I think, that are torn. And there's a ton of different pieces that they use. I said at least 20, they probably have 40, 50, 60 different pieces. So you can make it as interesting and as detailed as you want. Or if you wanted to do something a little less detailed, that's okay too. Okay. Another note about materials is I know you all know how to use scissors correctly, but I just want to make sure that we are not doing anything that is going to bother anybody else, put anybody else's safety at risk. So use your tools correctly. We are going to be using glue. So washing our brushes out, our foam brushes with the glue is super important. You guys are going to get a little container filled with the glue. So making sure the cap is on that so it doesn't dry out. You should keep reusing it. What else do we think we should think about when it comes to materials and tools? What are things that we should be doing with them? Not throwing them around. That's a good one. I like that. Making sure they're clean. If I use scissors and I get glue on the scissors, I'm washing the scissors off. Cool. I think we're all good about this. I think you guys are doing great. I'm pretty sure this is my last some stuff to us here in a little bit. But before that, we're going to stand around this table. And I'm going to show you how to transfer your